circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. No public comments were received in writing. And there were also no concerns from township staff or source water protection. So my report does go into greater detail, but the proposal does meet the policy direction, the provincial policy statement, Huron County and North Huron official plans for infill severances. The reductions are considered minor and appropriate in this case, and the lot sizes are sufficient. In my report does go in greater detail, but for the proposed lot depth on the retained, it's worth noting that the minimum lot area and frontage continue to be maintained. And for the rear yard, the location of this is changing as a result of the severance. However, the reduction to 7.6 meters is considered minor and still will maintain the function of the rear yard. For the severed lot on the corner, the lot area is considered minor in nature, and the lot size is still sufficient to accommodate future development, noting that the future development will still need to be mindful of any required setbacks, and also frontage is met. So with that, it is recommended that the zoning bylaw amendment application be approved, and then a reminder to council after the first motion, a second motion to the effect of public and agency comments is required. So I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. At this time, we will have the opportunity to comment on application by applicant or agent. And seeing no one here. And this opportunity to comments by others in attendance. Seeing none. 6.1.4, opportunity for questions, comments from council members. Any of the council members have any questions for Planner Hallman? Oh, very straightforward. 6.1.5 zoning bylaw procedure following public meeting. This is a public meeting of the Council of the Township of North Huron. Thus, a decision of council may or may not be made this evening on the zoning bylaw amendment. If the bylaw is passed by council, the clerk is required to send a notice of passing of the bylaw to persons or public bodies that have made written requests to be notified of the decision. There is a 20-day objection period from the time of the notice of passing of the bylaw has been mailed by first-class post, wherein submissions, letters of objection, or support in respect to the passing of the bylaw will be received by the clerk. If an objection is received, an appeal is lodged to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and at that point, the township no longer has any control over the time factor involved. If council does not pass the bylaw, the applicant may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If the bylaw is passed and no objections are received within the objection period, the clerk certifies that the bylaw is in force and of effect as of the date of its passing and notices forward to the Huron County Planning and Development Department. 6.1.6, summary of the comments and recommendations of the Huron County Planning and Development Department. Planner Hallman, go ahead.
Thank you. So if council wishes to concur with the staff recommendation that the application should be approved, then I would recommend that option A2 be selected, that no public comments were received on the application, so there was no effect on the decision. And that option B3 be selected, that agency comments were received in support of the application, the effect of which resulted in a decision to approve.
Okay, thank you. Decision of council and the effects of the comments received on council's decision. Our first motion is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the zoning bylaw amendment file Z03-2024 as it applies to lot 40, Plan 168, Blythe Ward, Township of North Huron, 442 Gypsy Lane. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder, Councillor Van Hitterson. All in favor? Carried. Motion number 2. Go ahead, Clerk Lamb.
Thank you, Your Worship. So based on Planner Holman's recommendation, the motion would be that for zoning bylaw amendment file Z03-2024 as it applies to lot 40, Plan 168, Blythe Ward, Township of North Huron, 442 Gypsy Lane. No public comments were received on this application, so there was no effect on the decision, and agency comments were received in support of the application, the effect of which resulted in a decision to approve the application.
May I have a mover? Councillor McBurney, seconder. Councillor Whitfield. All in favor? Carried. Staff reports 7.2.1. Implementation of a refund policy, FN 2024-15. Are there any questions for Director Towns at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, thanks through you, Reeve. So, yeah, this is about one of the last lines on the report, and I did see the email correspondence on it. But I did want to dig into a little bit about what the current practice is with regards to user fees and cancellation of programs. Because the background, as I recollect it, was that, you know, there was a survey done last fall with regards to how rec programs should be funded. I mean, there's some subtleties in between, but, you know, one broad category, you know, say category A is, do you want to cut programs? And that didn't get a lot of support. Option B was, do you want to raise taxes? That didn't get a lot of support. So what got the most support was raise user fees, which was built into the fee schedule. And, you know, I think we all recall that fairly well. But the comment in the report was that programs, at least some rec programs, would have to be fully funded with user fees or they could be canceled, right? Well, that amounts to the same thing as what option A was, right? Option A was basically cut a program so you don't spend tax money on it, right? Well, requiring a program to be fully funded with user fees, and if it's not, canceling it amounts to the same thing, right? Cut the program because we don't want to spend tax dollars on it. So it takes the user fee thing too far in my mind, right? Like the public spoke, they didn't want programs canceled. So I guess I just want to get clarification on what the current practice is. You know, are we actually canceling potential programs which aren't fully funded through user fees? Because, you know, rec programs typically aren't fully funded through user fees. Typically, we do have to spend a bit of tax money on them. I understand we're trying to minimize that. So I just wanted to get clarification on what the current practice is, Reeve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wright. At this time, I'll ask either Director Towns or our Rec Director Kelly to talk at this time.
So through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Wright. The current practice is to have staff submit a proposal that outlines what would be the minimum number of participants we would require to run the program so that we do not achieve a loss or see a loss in that program. So that may be, it may be a minimum number of 6 out of 10 that you need to have to run the program. But we also do a lot of advertising to try and get those numbers up. So to your point, we're not looking to cancel programs. We're looking to find ways to make sure that we have good representation, that we have a minimum number of participants so that there is no cost impact to the taxpayer. So it doesn't mean that we need, you know, if the program allows 10, that we're seeking out 10, we're seeking out a minimum number so that it's a viable program to run.
So yeah, again, through Reeve. So I appreciate the response, but again, I don't see that as an alignment with anything council's provided. I don't see that as an alignment with what the strategic plan provided, which was raise user fees, but don't cut programs. Right. So I see it as a mismatch, right? Like I don't understand how we ended up on the square. I don't understand where this direction came from. So I'm not saying we need to solve it tonight. You know, maybe this is something that we just need to take back and consider, but it seems like, so I understand the intent, right? The intent was going the right direction, but it seems like it's almost gone, you know, too far, and it could end up in, you know, the cancellation, or whether a program isn't put in or a program's canceled, it's basically the same thing, in my opinion. So.
Oh, Councillor Palmer, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. This is a sensitive issue and we've gone around the block already, and I look forward to when we can do it again. But we have to think of the users, potential users, and they see an arena, they see a swimming pool, they see fitness and all that. And they understand advertising, like they see an advertisement for a program and they go, wow, let's get into it. But there's not enough participants, or somebody cancels and it drops below your threshold. I have trouble with thresholds. Like, it's great in a lot of areas, but not here, because we're offering a service to people. And just think how they feel. Maybe they're gonna go to Listowel instead, or go somewhere, Goderich. And then we've lost them. So we have to be thinking about that as well. So tread carefully when your staff is deciding what the threshold is, because we don't, it'd be really good to make a profit, or at least hit our line costs, but it's a service and we're not going to a lot of the time. We never have, except for with childcare, but we never have in this department. So we have to think of the users, the people, the taxpayers.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. I guess we're just talking on the refund at this time of the refund policy. So yes, so may I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, seconder. Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. 7.2.2 FN 2024-15 Wings Columbus Center Hall Project. Outstanding invoice. I just asked him, does anybody have any questions for Director Towns at this time? For 7.2.2, please.
It's not so much a question, but it's a statement. So others who were not at the meeting would be brought up to speed. Is that, can we do that?
I'll turn Towns at this time. If
Through you, Reeve, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, Councillor Palmer. But high-level overview of the report, maybe, is that what you're asking, Councillor?
No,
No? Okay.
no, because your report is good. It explains everything.
Okay, thank you.
It's just, like, we went into this okay, Reeve, Deputy Reeve and myself attended this meeting. And for the benefit of the other three counselors, I think it's important to know the comments of the other side. I know when we went in, we're like, what the heck? There's this huge invoice, and what were you thinking? Blah, blah, blah. And we're all thinking that. And then you hear why. You know, these gentlemen, they're businessmen. They're not dummies. They don't spend money that they don't have. And if they screwed up if they made too much of an error, then I could affect, their dealings with us in the future. So that's what I'm after. It won't take long. Just mention a few things that they said to us so that the others hear it and understand it.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor. Did you have something?
I have a question, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I have a thing like, you said, they wouldn't ask for something if they had the money, but they don't have the money. That's why we are presented with this invoice. So I would bring the motion forward with option 1, if that's possible. Because I don't think you can spend money that you don't have without asking first for, can we spend the money here or there? It's not, we're not going the other way around. If I buy a car and I don't have the money and I go somewhere for like, oh, I buy the car and find the money somewhere else, that's not how it works. And this is one example, but we can't do that. We can't start doing things like that. That is, according to me, inappropriate. Thank you.
Good. I had a question here, then we'll go to, okay, go ahead, and then I'm turning over to Councillor Palmer, okay, and you have your, go ahead.
I was just going to second the motion. Amendment.
Yeah. But I wanted, first of all, questions come before, first of all, okay? Before we bring the motion in. I know this happened, it happened quick. But
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
no, sorry, that's enough. Sorry, sir. I said, first of all, he gets to do his talk first, okay? And then we'll carry on, okay? Go ahead, Counselor Palmer.
I appreciate, you know, motions coming forward, but I think it's important that we all have all the information. It's just not, we're not doing a good job if we don't know everything. And anyways, I said how we felt going into this meeting, because same as what you brought up, Councillor Van Hittersman. But then you hear why, and these are reputable people. They don't, it's like you and I spending money we don't have. You don't. So anyways, of course, nothing's in writing. It was verbal. You know, we got a grant of about 839,000, and they believed or were led to believe that 20% of it would be theirs. So that's about 166,000. And that's what they felt. And they did not get a copy of the agreement. The application, they didn't get it. Like right at the end, I found the last 5 minutes actually the best, because there was just pure honesty coming out and their humbleness. And I showed them, hey, this is the application, and it says what you get and how much money you get, about 90,000. We didn't see that. We've never seen that. So the point I'm trying to make is and then two other individual staff people said to them, hey, just carry on, you know what you're doing. And unfortunately, those individuals are not with us today, so we can't check. So it's a real catch. And so that's how I just see it as, you know, oh man, there was a big mistake. But you know what? We made a bit of a mistake too. And I feel it's important that we take a small slice of that responsibility, because the information did not flow to them. If we're the leader of the application, it's important that everybody down the line gets the information. It's our responsibility for that, and it didn't seem to happen. And again, we can't check, but like they were just, wow, they couldn't get over that. We never saw that. And then you can say, hey, why did you spend the money? Well, because we were led to believe that we would have 160,000 or so to spend. So it's just that situation. And, you know, I was going to make a motion too, but we already have one on the floor. So
I'm asking Deputy Reeve, did you have something to add? Like, I wanted comments first before we put the motion on. That's what I tried doing, okay? But yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead, Deputy.
Thank
please.
you. Through you. The Councillor Palmer is the council elect for the committee of council for the community center there. I don't recall at any time any motion or any information coming back from the organization to council that we could make a viable decision on whether processes were followed or they were followed. We have the agreements in front of us. We have the contracts. I don't recall any notion coming through that anything was awry until after the project was finished. And the rest is just hearsay unless we can prove it. I have no proof of either side. So,
Thank you. Okay, we're going around. Each one gets a comment first, please. Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Well, yeah, and so to echo Deputy Reeves' words, that's my thought, right? Is we do not have any evidence one way or the other, right? We don't have any evidence that promises were made and not kept. We don't have evidence that people made assumptions and didn't get confirmation, right? Like they say they did get confirmation. It was all verbal and whatever. So before we vote on Councillor Van Hitterson's motion, I would like to get clarification. What is the purpose of the Knights of Columbus Reserve Fund? And what is the appropriateness of using that reserve fund for these improvements?
Go ahead, Director Towns, please.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Palmer. I believe Clerk Lamb or CAO Evans would be able to describe that policy much better as they were involved with the writing of it. Thank you.
Thanks to you, your worship. So just in terms of, just to give a little bit of back history, there was a pledge made from the Knights of Columbus towards the construction of the West Cast Community Complex. And there was some, I'll call it confusion in terms of the Wingham Columbus Center versus the Knights of Columbus. And so last year, as you may recall, Councillor, we clarified that in terms of we established that in 2 agreements. And as part of that, what council had agreed to was that any pledge funds going forward would go into reserve fund, and they would be used for capital improvements to the Wingham Columbus Hall. Prior to those funds being utilized, the project would need to come to council and be approved by council. And then subject to council's approval, council would then authorize to transfer those funds to pay for the project that council was approving. So the funds are intended for capital improvements, but it's capital improvements that have been approved by council. Council approved I'll refer to it as the ICIP project. The work that work was completed, and those invoices were paid. The invoice that you have before you is not part of the ICIP project, and it's not a project that council has given approval for. So if that clarifies.
Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so to summarize, it is appropriate use of funds, but perhaps an inappropriate process was followed. But you know, again, to the case in point of the gentleman in question, that's the Knights of Columbus. They thought they did have approval. They would never have proceeded, my understanding is, if they didn't think they didn't have approval. You know, one of the gentlemen in question is a former councillor. So he knows how things work. It's not as if they were unfamiliar with the requirements, and you know, as far as they're aware, they followed all the right steps. They would not have visibility to know what was brought to council or not brought to council, right? They would only know what the department manager told them, and they were told that there was funding available and to go ahead. So anyways, that's my take on it. Thank you, Reeve.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, did you have any questions at all, please? Nope. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Deputy Reeve, please.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. Just some requiring some clarification. In the agreements during the separation of the Knights of Columbus Hall and the Knights of Columbus, the Columbus Center and the Knights of Columbus are in there. They say that they are distinct and separate. Who was the grant through for the Columbus Center, or was it through to the Knights? So if it was through to one entity, us giving privilege to the other entity, if they're separate, doesn't make sense to me. I just don't know who. All the invoices I saw were named on for the Knights and not the Columbus Center. I just don't know who the actual grant was granted to. Was it to the Columbus Center, or was it to?
Could you go ahead?
Knights.
Director Towns, go ahead, please.
Through you, Reeve, to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. The grant was awarded to the Township of North Huron. So there was an agreement or an arrangement between staff and the WCC is what I have as a document, but the granting application itself was to the Township of North Huron. The Township of North Huron was to administer the projects.
So just for my clarification, then the money held in reserve for the Knights of Columbus, or is it held in reserve for the West Cast or the Columbus Center Hall? There's two separate, and I just wonder which, like, we can't give and take money from one organization if they're not involved. If it was the Columbus Center, that's the only an entity that we can have conversation with, because they're two separate. And one is a pledge, and the other is a working rental agreement. So I'm just wondering which one, we can't take money from one and give it to the other. If the Columbus Center Hall project is not connected legally to that fund can't be used to retrofit. I'm just curious as what we're dealing with.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Deputy Reeve Deputy Reeve Falconer, sorry. It, as established, outlined within the agreements, it is a Wingham Columbus Center Reserve.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Okay, Councillor Wright, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's a fair point the Deputy Reeve raises, but I mean, it's got an easy fix, right? You change who the invoice is made out to. So it does go against the organization, the correct organization, right?
Good, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, then Deputy Reeve, please.
I just wanted to correct something that the Deputy Reeve was inferring. I am our council rep on their committee. And our job is to forge out the agreements, that 5-year agreements. And that's it. As far as this application goes for the grant, that was pure staff. I was aware of what the Columbus Center wanted to do and about for how much money was involved, but that's only because I asked. But it's staff, so staff would have brought it forward, not me. Just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you. I think it's all been, everyone should know how they're going to vote now. I just want to say thanks for the work that Knights Columbus, they're like all other groups, they give a lot to our community, and we appreciate that. And I just want to say that after the vote, or before the vote, I just want to make it clear that they could also apply to the Vance Fund too for helps with things that they're doing there too. I just want to make that point clear too. So at this time, we're going to put this to vote. I'd ask, you had a move, did I have a seconder and a seconder? Okay.
Recorded vote, please.
So just to clarify, so the motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Van Hittersum and seconded by Deputy Reeve Falconer, is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Finance Treasurer dated June 3rd, 2024 regarding the Wingham Columbus Center Hall project outstanding invoice for information purposes, and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby directs staff to proceed with option number 1 as provided in staff report FIN 2024-15. So I'll now call the recorded vote. So Deputy Reeve Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor McBurney,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
No.
Councillor Van Hittersum,
Yes.
Councillor Whitfield,
No.
Councillor Wright,
No.
and Reeve Heffer.
Yes.
So the motion carries 4-3, with the noes being Councillor Palmer, Councillor Whitfield, and Councillor Wright.
Seven 7.3 to 7.6, there are no reports. 7.6.1, CS 2024-06, Wingham Town Hall Theater follow-up report. That the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report prepared by Community Engagement Coordinator dated June 3rd, 2024 regarding the Wingham Town Hall Theater follow-up report for information purposes. And further, that council directs the clerk department to prepare a bylaw to adopt the Wingham Town Hall Theater rental policy for the June 17th, 2024 council meeting. And further, that the council directs staff to prepare a report regarding the potential contracting out of the Wingham Town Hall Theater operations to a third party for a future regular council meeting. Are there any questions at this team for community coordinator Denise? Go ahead, Councilor Wright. Come on up, Denise, please.
Yeah, not really. I wasn't going to start with a question. I just wanted to say I thought it was a very good process that was followed. Very productive meeting. I think it was good to get, a lot of thoughts on the table. Mix it around a bit and see what came out of it. And I think we came to a good result. So thanks for staff for that. Since this policy is before us, the one question I do have though is there in section 7.6 in the policy, there's a 7-day hold period. I just wonder what if we know what the background of that is. I've been told that kind of standard booking time the promoters are used to is 2 days. Just because when there's a lot of pieces to move around, it's difficult to not try to slot things in quickly. So I don't know if we know the background of where that 7 days came from, because that might be an opportunity since the policy's in front of us to adjust that to a 2-day hold period.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Wright. Actually, that 24 to 48 hours recommendation was given by one promoter, and I've asked many promoters, so I'm up to 22 promoters that I'm working with right now, and it can go from working with the promoter as in holding them up for multiple days, which the same promoter that actually referred to the 48 hours holds them if nobody else has asked for them for multiple weeks. So if there is a situation where there is one promoter on hold and another promoter has asked, I give that person 7 days because of vacation, if they are on tour or anything like that. 2 days is a very short limit, especially when you're talking over a weekend, which they work and we do not. So the 7 days was given kind of as a medium between 48 hours and 2 weeks. So we actually compromised at the 7 days.
You fine with that, Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I'm fine with that explanation. And the only other one thing I wanted to add, because it wasn't brought into the report, is it was discussed at the meeting and agreed to that there would be a fixed trial period, right? But that if it turned out that these adjustments to the theater operating hours did cause what would be perceived to be significant booking issues, that it would be brought back again in a revised report. There was no fixed time frame for that. Basically, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, there was a commitment at that meeting that it would be brought back to council again for additional discussion. So I just wanted to.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Wright. Again, there is a process that staff follow. So that recommendation of coming back to council was recorded in the minutes for the May 17th meeting. But as us staff are aware that if there is a problem, I take it to my direct supervisor, and the policy it's just our standard practice to actually do that. So if there is a problem, I go to my direct supervisor and they actually request a report to council, or we try to solve it on our own.
That, Councillor Wright?
Yeah, so, well, actually, I was going to make a motion, but I'll maybe pause for other comments or questions first.
Okay, other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. To Denise, if we can. Do you think no, let's see now, it's that one about sound checks. Nothing before 4 o'clock during the week. I'm not sure, is that enough time for these folks, or what did they want?
Yeah, so through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Palmer. That is something that we're going to have to work on right now. Yes, I think it is sufficient. As long as we work with the group during the week, during the weekends, they can start, sound checks anytime before. We don't want to actually have staff come in before 8 a.m. for a show, but if sound checks have to go, but during the week, 4 o'clock is sufficient for now. I will review the situation as we go for sure, but we have to also understand that there are meetings and other things for our municipal building below the theater. So it's not just sound checks. Load in can be very disruptive and loud. But that is just something we're going to have to work towards, and I will have to inform staff of all, performances and help us work together to make it happen.
Yes, as long as you review the situation and see, is it working or not? Then we have to
Mhm.
Mhm.
together again and decide what's right. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wright, go ahead.
Yeah, and I did just want to point out too that the promoters and the performers, they do have flexibility on start time too, right? So they don't actually have to start every show at 7. If they need more time to set up, they could delay the start time to 8, right? So they have flexibility on their end that they could, if they need more time to set up, they can adjust the start time appropriately.
We just don't want the start time to go too late for us older people that like to go to bed by 9 o'clock.
So I'll make the motion, Reeve, to adopt the revised town hall rental policy as presented.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Deputy Reeve? All in favor? Carried. 7.6.2 CAO 2024-12 draft cross border water and sanitary sewer service connection policy. That the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report, the CAO dated June 3rd, 2024 regarding a cross-border water and sanitary sewer services connection policy for information purposes. And further, that the council directs the clerk's department to prepare a bylaw adopting a cross-border water and sanitary sewer service connection policy for June 17th, 2024 regular meeting. May I have a mover and a seconder before we ask Director Evans? Go ahead, Councillor McBurney, seconder. Councillor Palmer. Okay, are there any questions for CAO Evans at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. In the draft, the policy draft, be in the submission of request, 3.2.5 Roman numerals. We're calling for a $5 million liability insurance for a homeowner. Well, it'll be for anybody who wants to be hooked up. Well, first off, that's a heck of a lot of money. Sorry, that's a huge liability. And then I questioned it. We have 2 million ourselves. So I phoned an insurance broker in town, and he said, no, 1 to 2 million is it. 5 million is never done for a homeowner. That's for commercial farms, things like that. But basically, homeowners do not have that. The insurance companies that would potentially insure you, a 10 would handle a $1 or a $2 million liability, but that dropped in half. And then the wording is that he said, where is it? Companies will say it exceeds the limit you need to carry, period. That's the statement from them. So I'm feeling, well, I just know from this that we should have that split. We should have maybe 2 million for homeowners and 5 for commercial. I feel strongly about that. It's not going to work. 5 million is not going to work for a homeowner.
Go ahead, CAO Evans, please.
Yeah, through you, Reeve, to Council Palmer. So just from the recommendation that staff have received from our insurance company is to go 5 million. And I understand your point. I think it's important in terms of, residential, certainly 1 to 2 million. But as you can appreciate in terms of when you're dealing with some large industrial developments, ensuring that you have adequate coverage. So this is really insurance for you as a municipality. But if you wish to reduce it or amend it in terms of 1 to 2 million for whether you attach it to capacity, or whether you attach it to the type of use. Those are certainly two different options that you could proceed with, but the general recommendation from our insurance provider is to go 5 million.
Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good idea of what the CEO brought in there, because it was already segregated, right? That below a certain capacity, 2 cubic meters a day, that we would provide the Director of Public Works in order to automatically approve those, right? So I think it's a sensible split that from a capacity standpoint, if it's less than 2 cubic meters per day, that we would ask, say, for $1 million of insurance, because that's likely a homeowner. Or if it is commercial, it's home-like use, right? A little kitchenette, 1 bathroom kind of thing. And then if it's above that capacity, that would be then the industrial users that we would want a $5 million liability insurance policy on.
Councillor Palmer, please.
Yes, but the wording has to be there in the policy. Like, we can assume that, but no, it has to be in the verbiage has to be there. I think it just should be split, homeowners or 1 to 2 cubic meters. And then the other would be commercial. And you could have some commercial that only do 1 cubic meter, but I think we should probably have still the 5 million just because it's commercial.
Yeah, through you, Reeve, to Councillor Palmer, this is a draft, so we'll certainly take that back for consideration and look at that and bring back a final version, to your point, if that's acceptable.
Our insurance company deals in zillions of dollars, big players. They don't probably do homeowners. So if you want to check what I've said, phone a broker and see what they're saying. Get their advice as well, okay?
Yep, point taken.
Yep. And Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Yeah, well, it's regarding the liability then as well, because a faulty thing or something that's disturbing the system by a homeowner or by a commercial business, I think it's about the liability the municipality has. So that might be for everybody the same, even if it's a small homeowner. I know, I have no idea, so I would like staff to look into that, and that's what you're going to do, so.
Okay. So any other comments about this at all from anyone? Seeing none, go ahead.
So your mover of the original motion was Councillor McBurney and your seconder was Councillor Palmer. So if they're both fine with the amended motion here, your motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the CAO dated June 3rd, 2024 regarding a cross-border water and sanitary sewer services connection policy for information purposes. And further, that council directs the clerk's department to prepare a bylaw adopting a cross-border water and sanitary sewer services connection policy for the June 17th, 2024 regular meeting, subject to an amendment to section 3.2V to establish different liability insurance requirements for commercial users versus residential users.
Are the two of you all right with that? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Reed's activity report. I just sort of go quiet time there. We at Mill Street there, our Deputy Reeve was there too. And they're just planning on going ahead at mid-June, and it's going to be probably late September they'll be done. And it's looking very promising. Our Jen McDonald from Public Works was there, and and Scott Price, and it was not a lot of public came out to it, but everything seems to be on the goal. They're going to be moving from here, whether they come right down there or another group comes in. They're not sure yet, but again, mid-June to late September is going to be the time there. I just want to take kudos out to the horticultural group. They did a lot of work at the Crookshank Park. And I just like to thank the Public Works and staff for helping out there. They provide a lot of hands, but the Public Works did a lot of some tilling up. It really helped out, and just dividing the building behind from the Crookshank Park. They want to put a divider in there make a nice hedge there, and it's going to work out great. And again, yesterday was a cricket match in town here in conjunction with Huron County and the immigration there. And they had 4 teams here. The winning team came from Kitchener that won it. And it was a close match with a team from Listowel. And again, it went really good. And they're looking forward to having another one in late August. And again, a lot of people were in town for that, and even with the wet weather. So they're going to have 2 days picked next time and to go for the best weathered one. So that's my comments. Are there any verbal or written updates from members sits on boards? Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, just another reminder, the Alice Munro Festival is right upon us. It's June 5th to 9th, and it starts with a play that's being presented out at the Harvest Stage in Blythe, and then there's the usual agenda in Wingham and in Bayfield with author readings and classes, etc. So just letting everyone know with another reminder that tickets are still available, and it's coming up shortly.
Thank you. And with that, maybe I can get some input from the Blythe ward. A person phoned me up, asked if it's raining, do they get wet while they're watching at the Harvest Stage? Just sort of protected there, isn't it a bit? Or go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through the all the shows at the outdoor theater will be either canceled or usually restaged inside the Memorial Hall in the past. But that's usually done, a day ahead. They look at the weather forecast, whether they're going to have rainy weather. So, but most the plays that are out there are, I said, they don't schedule plays on both outside and inside on the same dates, so they can bring the plays inside. They've been their past.
Thank you. I know how to answer this person. I appreciate that. Okay, are there any comments by? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to thank the community. The Belgrave Playground Committee organized the Belgrave White Yard Sale in support of the renovations or the renewal from the Belgrave Playground. It was a beautiful day. People were very positive. They want to do it again next year, and money is still coming in, and they raised at least $3,000 for just that yard sale. They did a barbecue, and it was just fantastic, very well organized, and a lot of support in the community, and we are very appreciative of that.
It just shows what volunteers can do, right? Yeah, very good. Are there any other comments by members? Seeing none. Notice of motion, by anyone? I just ask, and I'm going to be given a report to our clerk, and it's just a comment on number 4 of our agenda, and just asking for how do other municipalities do it so that's just what I'm going to be bringing ahead. You won't see it for another stretch of time. Okay, bylaws. Bylaw number 40, 2024, renewal lease agreement with Huron Pioneers Threshers and Hobby Associations Incorporated. May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Whitfield, in favor. Carried. Bylaw number 41, 2024, zoning bylaw amendment for Mr. Badley. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Deputy Reeve, all in favor. Carried. Bylaw number 42, 2024, delegations of authority for undisputed consents and undisputed extensions of plans of subdivisions. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, in favor? Carried. Next meeting will be held on Monday, June 17th at 6 p.m. North Huron Council Chambers here at 271 Francis Street. Next Wingham BIA board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 6:30 at Hot Stove Lounge at the North Huron West Cass Community Complex. The next BIA board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 27th, 2024 at 8 a.m. in the Blythe and District Community Center. Are there any other announcements from any of the members? Seeing none? No closed meeting. Confirmatory bylaw number 43, 2024. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder. Counselor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Adjournment, that the council of the township of North Huron agree that there being no further business before council, June 3rd, 2024, regular council meeting being held hereby adjourned at 6:56. Counselor McBurney, Counselor Palmer, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.